The first time, it feels too small. A comment with a little edge. A favor assumed instead of asked. A joke that lands on you and keeps going. You notice it. Your body notices it even faster. That tiny pause. That tight jaw. That feeling that something just got taken from you. But you tell yourself not to make it a thing. So you smile. You let it pass. You keep the room comfortable. And that looks mature in the moment. Until it happens again. Now the line is not clearer. It is looser. Because the first time they crossed you, nothing happened. No correction. No pause. No cost. And people learn fast from what costs nothing. You see it in small ways first. They speak to you a little rougher. They assume a little more. They test your time, your tone, your space. Not because they hate you, because the door stayed open. That is how a pattern starts. Not with one huge act. With one moment you swallowed to keep peace. Then another. Then another. And now you are not dealing with one disrespectful moment. You are dealing with a version of your life where people keep pushing because they already learned they can. You thought letting it slide would calm things down. But what it really did was train the next move, and the next, and the one after that. And this is where it first goes wrong. Not in some huge betrayal, in one small moment that looks easy to ignore. You say no to something simple. Maybe it is your time. Maybe it is your space. Maybe it is the way someone talks to you. They push anyway. Not hard. Just enough. A little laugh. A little, come on. A little, it's not that serious. And right there, you feel the pressure. Your chest tightens. Your mind starts doing that fast math. Do I correct this? Do I keep this smooth? Do I really want to turn this into a whole thing? So you do what most people do. You protect the mood. You say nothing. Or worse, you soften your own line. You go, it's fine. Even when it isn't. That is the first mistake. Not that they crossed you. That you help them land there comfortably. Because now they do not feel resistance. They feel access. They learn your discomfort is private, and their behavior is still allowed. That changes the whole moment. You think you kept peace. What you really did was absorb the cost for them. They were the one who crossed the line. But you carried the awkwardness. You carried the tension. You carried the swallow in your throat and the replay afterward. That is how disrespect gets cheap. One person acts out, as the other person pays emotionally and stays quiet. A Stoic move here is smaller than people think. Not a speech, not a fight, just a clear stop. That doesn't work for me. No smile after, no rescue, no extra explanation. Because the first consequence does not need to be loud. It just needs to exist. And the second time is where it stops feeling accidental. They ask again. Same thing you already answered. Or they use that tone again, like the first moment already cleared the way. And what hits you fast is not just irritation, it is confusion. Because now part of you starts turning on yourself. Did I make the line clear enough? Do I need to say it better this time? Do I really want to make this awkward now? That is how the pattern deepens. Not because they forgot. Because they are checking whether your first no had any weight. And if you answer again, like this is a fresh moment, they learn something dangerous. Your boundary is not a boundary. It is a delay. A thing they can push through. A mood they can wait out. A line that disappears if they stay on it long enough. That is the real shift. The first time was a test. The second time becomes trust. They trust you will soften. They trust the tension will stay yours. They trust there is still no price here. A Stoic correction here is simple. Do not restart the conversation. Name the repeat. I already answered that. I said no already. We're not reopening this. Short, flat, finished. Because the second time is not where you explain better. It is where you prove the first answer was real. This is the part people around you start reading. Because disrespect is rarely private for long. Even when the moment looks small. A person cuts across you. You let it go. Someone makes a dismissive comment. You brush past it. Someone keeps pushing after your no. You stay polite and keep the room moving. And everybody watching learns something. Not just about them, about you. They start to feel where the line is. Or worse, where the line isn't. That is the social cost most people miss. The first person crosses you. The next person studies the result. They see no correction, no pause, no shift in your tone. So the room adjusts around that. People start speaking over you a little easier, asking more from you than they ask from others, getting comfortable being careless with your time, your words, your space. Not because you said they could, because your behavior kept saying there would be no consequence. That lands hard in group settings. A meeting, a family table, a team call. One person talks over you and keeps going. You smile tightly and let them have it. Nobody says anything, but the room changes. Your point loses weight. Your place in the conversation gets softer. And now the next interruption comes faster. That is how position slips, quietly. A Stoic shift here is not about winning back the room. That desperation makes it worse. The move is simpler. You stop the moment when it happens. Let me finish. That was my point. I'm not done. Then you keep going. No apology. No nervous laugh. No trying to make everyone comfortable again. Because once other people see that crossing you actually meets a line, the reading changes. And so does the room. But the real damage shows up when the pressure gets higher. Because small disrespect is one thing. Most people can pretend not to notice that. But then comes the moment that actually costs you. A deadline, a decision, a room where your words need weight. And suddenly the same person who kept crossing you starts doing it when it matters. They interrupt your point in front of the boss. They volunteer you for something you never agreed to. They reframe your boundary like you are being difficult. And now, the air changes. Because this is no longer a small social irritation. This has stakes. Your time, your position, your credibility. That is when people panic. Not because the disrespect is new, because now they finally see what the earlier silence trained. You feel it instantly. Your breathing changes. Your mind wants to fix everything at once. Correct them. Defend yourself. Explain the whole history so people understand this did not start here. That is the trap. By the time you are forced to defend a pattern in public, the pattern already has momentum. And the room usually does not see the first 5 small moments that built it. They only see this one. So if you come in hot now, it can make you look like the problem arrived with your reaction. That is why early cost matters. Because delayed boundaries are heavier, harder, messier. A Stoic move here is tight and immediate. No long backstory, no emotional cleanup. Just stop the overreach at the point of contact. I didn't agree to that. That's not accurate. No, that's not how this will go. Then hold the silence. Let them feel the friction you should never have been carrying for them. And after a while, the pattern follows you home. That is the part people do not talk about enough. The moment ends. The text thread goes quiet. The meeting moves on. Dinner is over, but you do not feel done. You replay the tone, the look, the joke, the way they pushed again like your discomfort was nothing. And what hurts is not only what they did, it is what you did not do. You felt the line. You abandoned it anyway. That is where the damage turns inward. Because repeated disrespect does not only lower how they treat you, it starts lowering how you feel about yourself. You begin to hesitate faster, second-guess faster, swallow things sooner. You tell yourself you are being mature, easygoing, above it. But your body knows the truth. Your jaw locks. Your stomach drops before certain people even speak. You start preparing for pressure before it arrives. That is not peace. That is adaptation. You are not calm. You are bracing. And the worst part is this: the more often you betray your own discomfort, the less seriously you start taking it. Now your inner voice gets weaker. You hear the signal, then talk over it. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I should just let it go again. That is how self-respect erodes, quietly. Not because someone else crossed the line once, because you kept teaching yourself that your own line was optional. A Stoic shift here starts in private. Before the next moment even comes, you stop arguing with your own signal. If it felt off, that matters. If it crossed a line, that counts. You do not need a courtroom. You need self-alignment. Because the first person who has to stop dismissing the disrespect is you. And this is where the old version of you tries to come back. They do it again. Same tone, same little push, like your no was just the beginning of a negotiation. And you feel that reflex immediately. Make it softer, say it nicer, give them one more reason so the moment stays easy. That is the trap. Because the second you start cushioning the line, you take the job back. They push. You manage the tension. They stay comfortable. You leave carrying the weight. Not this time. You feel the heat. You keep the line anyway. I said no. That doesn't work for me. We're not doing that. And then you stop. No second version. No smile to make it easier for them. No long explanation just so they can keep seeing you as agreeable. That is the real shift. Not becoming cold, not becoming harsh, just becoming harder to move. People feel that fast, especially the ones who got used to the older version of you, the flexible one, the one who kept absorbing the awkwardness, the one who kept translating disrespect into something easier to excuse. Some of them will look surprised. Some will test it one more time. Good. Now the line is finally outside your body instead of buried inside it. That is what changes your position. Your calm stops looking negotiable. It starts looking final. A Stoic move here is simple. Say the line once. Hold it. Let them deal with the friction. And when you finally correct it, it usually looks smaller than you imagined. That is what surprises people. You thought it would take a whole speech, a dramatic moment, a fight. It doesn't. It happens in one clean interruption. Someone does it again. The same tone, the same push, the same little move that used to get a pass. Maybe they talk over you. Maybe they assume your time. Maybe they try that half-joking disrespect to see if the old version of you is still there. And this time, you do not rush to keep the air comfortable. You let the moment stop. Then you answer it, calmly. No, don't do that. I wasn't finished. That's not okay with me. Short lines, nothing extra. And then the most important part, you do not take it back. You do not smile to soften it. You do not explain it twice. You do not rescue them from the awkwardness they created. So the room finally feels the right person carrying the discomfort. Not you, them. That is the correction. Not domination, not revenge. Accurate consequence. And people feel it immediately. Some will straighten up. Some will go quiet. Some will act surprised. Ours like the line came out of nowhere. It didn't. It was always there. You just stopped hiding it. That is how the pattern breaks in real life. Not when you become aggressive, when you become expensive to cross. Once disrespect meets a clear cost, repetition loses its rhythm, and the people who keep trying after that. Now you can see them clearly, not as a misunderstanding, as a choice. People do not keep crossing lines that cost them something. They keep crossing the ones you keep covering for. That is the hard truth. You are not keeping peace. You are making access cheap. The shift is simple. Do not make your discomfort invisible just to keep the moment smooth. Let the line exist. Let the pause land. Let other people carry the weight of what they chose to do. Because respect does not grow where everything is allowed. It grows where calm has edges.